So lesson number 2, we are going to be talking about some of the careers within the telecommunication space. So the first career, or the first kind of careers that I'm going to be talking about, are networking and infrastructure people. Okay, so at the top of the hierarchy, you've got a network architect. So basically, a network architect is the guy that designs the network itself. Okay, so for example, if let's say MTN, I like MTN, I use MTN by the way, I'm sure you can see that. So let's say MTN wants to get into a new place, a new area. Let's say they want to get into Gauteng, for example. Okay, they are going to look at, a network architect would need to look at, okay, we need to build a network into this area. How much or how many towers are we going to need? And how are we going to connect those towers? And how much is it going to cost? Where are we going to put our point of presence? How much fiber are we going to need? What are the telecommunications switches and routers and antennas are we going to need? Things like that. So a network architect is the guy that is going to be putting things on paper. Those are, a network architect is one of the top position that can be done in a telecommunication space. So they're usually called technical solution architects or network architect. They have different names. Okay, so that would be your one of the main top roles there. Obviously, you need somebody that's going to design. I want you to think of these guys as like, somebody that plans or design a house. So before you get to build a house, somebody would need to design a plan for it. Okay, they're gonna need, this is how the house is gonna look. This is how big it's going to be. This is probably the amount of material that you're gonna need. So that is an architect. Okay, so we have that in telecommunications as well. Then we also have now people that needs to actually take that documentation or that design document and start implementing those things. Okay, those are network engineers and field engineers. There's so many roles within that. So you have, let's say, a person that knows how to design a radio frequency network. So they are called RF technicians or RF engineers. Then you have people, if we are using fiber as the medium, we also need a fiber technician, somebody that understands how to run fiber in the ground, the people that are going to actually splice or join the fiber or things like that. Those usually are called access network engineers or access engineers. They are responsible for designing the last mile. So the last mile is the network between the service provider network and the customer. So then we also have technical support people that are going to manage these networks, monitor to make sure that everything is working. Now, for those type of roles that I just specified, the network and infrastructure people, you see that most of them have electronic, in terms of academic qualifications, they do have electrical engineering programs, diploma and degrees, electronic degrees, so either electrical engineering or electronic engineering or telecommunications or computer science or even information technologies. So they have some sort of a national diploma or a degree in those fields. When it comes to certifications, they have certifications like Cisco certifications, Huawei certifications, Ericsson certifications, Nokia, Mikrotik, fiber certification. There's a lot of certifications that can be done in this particular space. The only thing that would that is going to be how can I put it? So the level at which you are will determine the type of qualifications you need to have. So we're going to be talking about those things in the other videos, but I want you to know what is required, or at least understand the job type, what these people are and what do they do. So that's pretty much what we're discussing here. The technical skills, they need to be able to configure routers, switches, antennas, splice fiber and things like that. So this is networking and infrastructure. All right, so we're still continuing with our core career path in the telecommunication space. Now I'm gonna be talking about cybersecurity. Now, if I mention the word cybersecurity, I'm sure everybody gets to be attentive. Everybody wants to be a cybersecurity expert. They love cybersecurity. It's one of those careers that is highly on demand. If you know what you're doing and you have cybersecurity qualifications, it's very highly unlikely that you're gonna better get a job. But here's the problem. You can't protect a network if you don't understand how a network works. So I always often tell my students that, guys, when I look at cybersecurity, I always see it as a specialization after you have a solid networking expertise. So I want to give you an example of what they have in the medical field. So in the medical field, you have, you do like your general practitioner program degree, which takes you 6-7 years. When you're done with that, then you can then choose to specialize into neurosurgeon or whatever the case. You can't be a neurosurgeon without having done the basics. That's how I want you guys to envision it. So you can't protect a network if you don't understand how a network works. So the first thing um, to do if you want to be in cybersecurity, you need to make sure that your networking skills are solid. Okay, you need even a little bit of programming. Okay, not too much, a little, but you need to have it. So anyway, that was a bit of a digression. So basically, some of the roles that we have in the cybersecurity space will be SOC engineers, security analysts, penetration testers. In terms of academic qualifications, pretty much the same program still stands: electronic engineering, electrical engineering degrees, computer science, information technology. In terms of certifications, you have certificates such as CISP, CyberOps from Cisco. Then you've got certified ethical hacking. So there are many certifications that you can do in this particular field. There are many of them, many, many, many. I just didn't want to list them all. So this is quite a big field. It's quite a massive field, and there's a lot of opportunities there. But my suggestion is always going to be you need to start as a network engineer before you transition into cybersecurity. Okay, so now let's continue to our programmers and cloud engineers. I put those two together because I felt like they kind of overlap, and I didn't want to make my whole video too long. All right, so remember about what I've talked about when we were discussing about MTN, and I said if I needed to buy airtime, I have an app where I can log in and I can buy airtime from my app. Okay, there are people that develop those softwares, and those softwares are not running on air; they are running on physical hardware. So there are people that make sure that that hardware is working. So those are server engineers. Okay, so within a service provider, you've got server engineers, you've got programmers. These kind of overlaps. You find that somebody that is there's a cloud engineer already has to know how systems work. You can't be a cloud engineer if you don't understand how to install Linux system. You can't be a good programmer if you don't know how to manage and install applications or things that you need. So I kind of combine those two roles together, but they're quite different. You might find that you have people that actually manages the infrastructure. They don't do any programming. They just make sure that the infrastructure is working. Then you've got the programmers themselves. But in small to medium organization, you probably find that the guys that are managing the systems are actually the programmers at the same time. It happens a lot, so it's not an uncommon thing. But some of the certifications that these guys are doing are AWS certifications, Red Hat certifications, Java certifications, all those Python, different courses and things like that. They do those kind of things. But what I find out is that in this particular space, you need to be very good with your open source platforms, such as your Linux operating systems. You need to be very good with that. So I'm not gonna dive into that. Our main focus Now we're gonna switch to networking because the courses that we are going to be offering are networking and infrastructure. So at this point, networking, infrastructure, and cybersecurity, but our program, since it's in entry level, we are going to be focusing on networking and infrastructure. I hope you guys find this video useful, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.